So this next session is about interactive session with successful entrepreneurs. Risk-taking is a gift that is rare. The road to leadership is full of hardships. The whole idea about this session is to enable knowledge sharing, insights, and perspectives of some of the successful entrepreneurs who have dared to fail to be able to succeed. This session will be moderated by Mr. Madan Mohan Rao. Madan is a research director at Your Story Media. He is an editor of many books. His interests include creativity, innovation, knowledge management, and digital media. Madan is also a DJ and writer on world music and jazz. Madan, please take it forward.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to a very good session. We're going to begin with looking at what does it take to become a social entrepreneur? What does it take to leave the security of a typical, engineering, medical kind of a job and strike it out on your own? What is the inner journey of an entrepreneur? How do you form partnerships? How do you learn from failure? What are some trends in the field, and so on? So we have an outstanding set of panelists here. Let me first introduce Lakshmi Rebecca sitting on my left. You may have seen her at previous M-Billionth Manthan Awards and so on. She previously founded something called Chai with Lakshmi, and before that, Inclusive India. She now runs a film production house called Red Bangle, and she has been experimenting with mobile, made on mobile content. So you'll have some very good insights now on mobile. We also have here Anshul Tiwari, founder and editor-in-chief of Youth Ki Awaaz, which is a digital media platform for the young generation. He'll tell you much more about it in his remarks. We also have with us on stage Ishita Anand from BitGiving. You've heard of Bitcoin and fundraising and all that. This is a bit different. This is BitGiving. She'll tell you much more about what it takes to run a crowdfunding platform. We heard earlier in the morning how crowdsourcing has been used for a lot of content and work and all that. It's also been used for funding. And last but not least, we have Kayona's Kalyanwala, who's the communication manager of Video Volunteers. You may have also seen them here at previous events by the Digital Empowerment Foundation. They do a lot of work with getting disadvantaged communities' voices online on video. So I'm going to begin by asking each of our speakers over here to, in about 2-3 minutes, tell us about how they got to where they are today. What was the vision for founding your agencies or NGOs or social entrepreneurs, enterprises, and where is it going, and so on and so forth. So I think only one of them has a presentation to make, but the others will just talk as they go. So first of all, a round of applause for 4 outstanding young social entrepreneurs looking at using social media for the causes of India. So Lakshmi, let's begin with you.
Well, I started just as a video blogger, and then I was very keen to talk to entrepreneurs and find out their stories and share that online, and that's really how it started. One thing led to another. I realized that if you want to do really good quality videos, it takes a lot of effort. And then it became like a talk show, and then I ran it for like 3.5 years, and it was called Chai with Lakshmi. Now I've transitioned from there into content under my name, which is Lakshmi Rebecca. Sometimes I do a talk show format. More often now, it's completely made on mobile. So I'm not promoting Samsungs, but my S6 is fantastic. I film, edit, and upload directly from the phone. And it gives me a lot of flexibility, and it's still HD quality, and it's fun. Of course, to fund the talk show, I started a production house because I realized how much I enjoyed being behind the camera and the whole production process. And as a production house, we've made over 300 films. My connect with the Digital Empowerment Foundation and being at this event is the talk show itself, which featured many, many social entrepreneurs. And there were some very, very inspiring change makers amongst them. So this is where we are 5 years on since starting up.
The hashtag for the event, by the way, I forgot to mention that for those of you who are tweeting, the Twitter hashtag is #SM4E. The number 4, Social Media for Empowerment 16 for 2016. Okay, so #SM4E16. Please tweet away. There are a lot of people following to see what's happening at this event. Let's hear from you.
Hi everyone, my name is Anshul. I run Youth Ki Awaaz, which I started pretty much 8 years back. Internet was at a very nascent stage in India at that time. Facebook, Twitter were they were pretty much non-existent. We were all on Orkut and loving it. And that's the time when Youth Ki Awaaz started off. And the reason why it started was because, I felt that as young people, there are very few platforms that we get to speak up on issues that we passionately feel about, or get access to, say, decision-making or decision-makers. And at that time, the big platform that was already available apart from the traditional media was blogging. So I started out as a blog, a personal blog, youthkiavaz.blogspot.com. And over the last 8 years, it's turned into a media company. We've had about 45,000 people who've contributed to the platform, about 3 million people who read the website every month. Along the way, we had some good times and bad times. 8 years is a good enough time to experience all of that. And more recently, we raised our first round of investment as well. So, the journey that Youth Ki Awaaz has taken has been a lot about, how do you turn something very personal into, an enterprise. And I've been involved with DEF for a very long time. I met, Mr. Osama Manzar in 2010. Some of the best words of advice that I got were from him. And then about 3 years back, we also won the Manthan Award and the Social Media for Empowerment Award as well. So yeah, that's been the last 8 years or so.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ishita Anand, and I'm the founder of bitgiving.com. Madan already told all of you, we're a crowdfunding platform, nothing to do with bitcoins yet. So the idea with which bitgiving started was that we knew that there were a lot of very brilliant initiatives out there, a lot of entrepreneurs trying to create their dream project, but they weren't being able to fund them. And it also came from a personal experience of letting go of a startup idea that I was very close to because I didn't know where to start funding it. We launched about 2 years back when, in the last session, somebody asked you how many of you know about crowdfunding, and a lot of you put your hands up. When we started and I would have done something like that, I think 10% of the audience would put their hands up because they had no idea what crowdfunding was. So from there to today, where crowdfunding has become the buzzword and people understand it and are practicing it to raise funds for their different initiatives, has been a long, scary journey. Not the 7 years that Anshul has been through, but we bootstrapped for 2 years to be able to figure out how crowdfunding would fit into the current ecosystem. And what we saw were beautiful stories being able to raise funds. We saw the ice hockey team nobody knew about raising money from the crowd, trending on Twitter pretty much, because there was so much of conversation around it, to people coming together during emergency responses and raising more and more funds. And then I'm sure a lot of you know about the Friendico story, where they're about to shut down, and more than 3,000 people came together to make sure they wouldn't. So that was the idea with which we started, and we've started to see people using it, and that's been the journey so far for us. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kayanaz, and I am a storyteller and researcher, and that sort of I found my way to this wonderful organization called Video Volunteers, which is what I want to talk to you about today. Video Volunteers basically addresses the need that many of us spoke about earlier today, which is this massive digital divide, which means that most people in rural and marginalized communities can neither create their own content, nor do they have access to content that is relevant to them. So we train people from these areas to be video producers, community correspondents we call them, and they use video as an advocacy tool. And we believe that every single video is an agent of change. And we use these videos for campaigning at a national level, at local levels, at state levels, etc. And at some point in time, I'm going to share some videos with you. But what we're really trying to address is the question of right to voice. We sort of take it for granted that everybody has a voice. Yes, everybody has a voice, but in the current scenarios, everyone's voice is not heard, which means that policy decisions get made in an absence and in the vacuum of many crucial voices that must be there. And our current debates on, say, development or education or forced evictions or any other vital issues in the country are not well-rounded enough because they exclude so many voices. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I've got a bunch of questions for the panelists now. The first one is on differentiation. How do you differentiate from everyone else who is in your space? We are here today not just for a conference, but also for an awards in the evening. So awards are given for the people who stand out and differentiate the most and the best in their category. So let me start with you from the other end. How do you differentiate from maybe a lot of other NGOs also doing grassroots community journalism and things of that sort? What is so unique about Video Volunteers?
Video Volunteers, as far as we know, is pretty much the largest online archive of videos from rural areas. Every video that correspondents make in the network go onto YouTube and onto our website and get shared. What is also unique about Video Volunteers is the fact that the videos serve twofold purpose. It's also on-ground advocacy at one level, but it's also feeding these stories into mainstream media. So we worked a lot with Anshul at Youth Ki Awaaz, where they take a lot of the videos that we produce, and we worked with CNN, IBN, and other organizations like that. Huffington Post has taken a lot of our content. So it's really getting these stories out into wider spaces is where we stand out. Also, secondly, in terms of diversity, because that is such a crucial question to address. Right now, Video Volunteers has 170 community correspondents across 16 states in India. And of that, 52% are women, and about 63% come from scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. And that is more diversity in one organization than is in all of India's mainstream media.
So when we were thinking of starting out with BitGiving, one thing that we didn't want from it was to be a completely transactional platform. We wanted people to actually come share their stories and engage with the story that they were putting in money into. And I think that's something that we've been able to build with BitGiving, because every time there's a campaign that is doing well, we see everybody putting in money and sharing their own stories, which is brilliant for people who are raising money because there is an instant connection. And you also sort of build a community because they've shared. And I think that's been one of the biggest differentiators for us, and which is why a lot of contributors as well as people who are fundraising keep coming back, because they like the kind of personalized approach that they have with their community. Secondly, it's also being from a tech background, the idea was to create something which is superior on the technology front. And there is a reason why whenever there's a conversation that's really strong on BitGiving, it also becomes strong on other social media platforms, because that's the way the technology has been built. So that's probably two biggest differentiators that we have in mind.